Phylum Cnidaria. Cnidarians are animals that live in aquatic environment. The name Cnidarian is derived from the Greek word cnide, which means needle, and aria, which means like or connected with. It consists of more than 10,000 species, a primitive group of multicellular, open colonial animals with a primary radial symmetry. Most cnidarian can be found in the ocean, and some also be found in fresh water. An example of it are the jellyfish, which have soft jelly-like bodies. Their daily life cycle was attached in the ocean's seafloor and swim as they adult. This jellyfish has tentacles to catch their prey. In other hand, corals and anemones are another example of cnidarians that spend their life attached in the ocean's seafloor or ocean's surface. These corals get their need from the algae that living within their tissue. The algae are making their foods by photosynthesis and transfer it to their host, which is the corals. As an exchange, corals provide algae with a safe place to live. Most cnidarians can produce sexually, wherein the sex cells is released and fertilized in water. Some cnidarians can produce asexual by podding. Members of the phylum Cnidaria possess radial or biradial symmetry. Biradial symmetry is a modification of radial symmetry in which a single plane passing through a central axis divides the animals into mirror images. It results from the presence of a single or paired structures of basically radial animals and differs from bilateral symmetry in that dorsal and ventral surfaces are not differentiated. Radially symmetrical animals have no interior or posterior ends. Radial symmetry is advantageous for sedentary animals because sensory receptors are evenly distributed around the body. These organisms can respond to stimuli from all directions. The Cnidaria includes over 9,000 species, are mostly marine, and are important in coral reef ecosystem. Characteristics of phylum Cnidaria include radial symmetry or modified biradial symmetry, diplobastic tissue-level organization, gelatinous mesoglea between the epidermal and glossodermal tissue layers, gastrovascular cavity, nervous system in the form of a nerve net, specialized cells called cnidocytes used in defense, feeding, and attachment. Body wall and cell types. Cnidarians possess diploblastic tissue-level organization, cell organized into tissue that carries out specific functions, and all cells are derived from two embryological layers. The ectoderm of the embryo gives rise to an outer layer of the body wall called epidermis, and the inner layer of the body wall called glossodermis is derived from endoderm. Cells of the epidermis and glossodermis differentiate into number of cell types for protection, food gathering, coordination, movement, digestion, and absorption. Between the epidermis and gastrodermis is a jelly-like layer called mesoglea. Cells are present in the middle layer of some cnidarians, but they have their own origin either the epidermis or the gastrodermis. One kind of cell is characteristic of a phylum. Epidermal and or gastrodermal cells called cnidocytes produce structures called cnidae, which are used for attachments, defense, and feeding. A cnidae is a fluid-filled intracellular capsule enclosing a coiled, hollow tube. Alternation of generations. Most cnidarians possess two body forms in their life histories. The polyp is usually asexual and sessile. It attaches to a substrate at the aboral end and has a cylindrical body called the column and a mouth surrounded by food-gathering tentacles. The medusa is dioecious and free-swimming. It is shaped like an inverted bowl, and tentacles dangle from its margins. The mouth opening is centrally located facing downward, and the medusa swims by gentle pulsations of the body wall. If you wanted to ask on what type of skeleton does phylum Cnidaria have, well, Cnidaria has a hydrostatic skeleton. This skeleton is formed by the filled fluid compartment within the body called column that allows free movement and growth of the internal organs. It also serves as the transport of nutrients, gas, and water throughout the body of Cnidaria species. Unlike sponges, which have skeletal structures made of spongin or spiceous, sea anemones and jellyfish have no skeletal structures to support their soft tissues. They fill the gastrovascular cavity with water and close the mouth tight, putting the water under pressure as in a balloon filled with water. There are 4 classifications of Cnidaria: Class Hydrozoa, Class Scyphozoa, Class Cubozoa, and Class Anthozoa. Class Hydrozoa. Hydrozoans are small, relative common cnidarians. The vast majority are marine, but this is the one cnidarian class with freshwater representatives. Most hydrozoans have life cycles that displace alternation of generations. However, in some, sensory structures called statocysts. A statocyst consists of small sac surrounding a calcium carbonate concretion called a statolith. Examples of class Hydrozoa are Hydra and Medusa. Class Scyphozoa. Scyphozoans live in all oceans, from the Arctic to tropical waters. Some inhabit the deep sea, but most live near the coastal waters. Members of the class Scyphozoan are all marine and are all true jellyfish because the dominant stage in their life history is the medusa. Unlike Hydrozoan medusa, Scyphozoan medusa lack velum. The mesoglea contains amoeboid mesenchyme cells. Cnidocytes occur in the gastrodermis as well as the epidermis, and gametes are gastrodermal in origin. Example of class Scyphozoa are Mastigias, Kinkisirha, and Eurelia. Class Cubozoa. In this class, Cubozoa includes jellies that have box-shaped medusa, a bell that is squared in cross-section, hence they are colloquially known as box jellyfish. This species may achieve the size of 15 to 25 cm. Cubozoans display overall morphological and anatomical characteristics that are similar to those of the Scyphozoans. This class is composed of approximately 50 species. Cubozoans have a typical life cycle that alternates between a polyp, asexual, and medusa, sexual stages. Example of class Cubozoa are box jellyfish. Class Anthozoa. Anthozoa includes all cnidarians that exhibit a polyp body plan only. In other words, there is no medusa stage within their life cycle. The class Anthozoa includes a variety of animals that have polyps with a flower-like appearance. In these forms, the gastrovascular cavity is large. It is divided by walls of septa which arise as folds from the body wall. Example of class Anthozoa are sea anemones.